I was sitting in the home of a precious pastor friend of mine a few days ago. He said, Brother Sheppard, I was preaching a revival several years ago. And when I got to where we were staying, the pastor said, Brother Johnson, I'd like for you to go to the hospital with me. We have an individual that needs a touch of God in their life. Would you go and help me pray? He said, we got to the motel room, and I walked in. And there was a Gideon Bible laying there on the coffee table. And he said, for whatever reason, it's more divine than I knew. I reached over, when I picked it up, there was dust all over the Bible and all around the coffee table. If it had ever been opened, it had been many, many days before. He said, I went to the hospital with that pastor, and he said, I got there. When we got to the ICU unit, they said, only one of you can come in. And he said, I looked at the pastor and said, listen, you go ahead and go in, and I'm going down to the chapel. And he said, I walked into that little old chapel. And he said, there on an altar was a Gideon Bible. And he said, I picked it up. And he said, when I did, there was tear stains all over it. You know what the difference was? In the motel room, everybody was doing their own thing. But somebody went into a hospital and they needed God. And they needed Him then. They didn't need Him 24 hours later. They needed Him. He said somebody had built an altar. Somebody had built an altar. I didn't come here tonight to be negative in any way. I just came to share with you my heart. But I want you to know, church, I'm disturbed because we got folks that say they're Pentecostal who have sat on our pews for years, but it's been so long since they've been in contact with God. It's been months and years since they fell in an altar and had a relationship with God that touched God and themselves. I want to know here tonight, how long has it been since you've been in contact with the God of heaven? How long has it been since you have been at one with God? And tonight I hear Him calling. Tonight I feel Him reaching. Tonight I hear His voice speaking. Just a few days ago, we had a young man who is, if I name the church and the pastor, you'd know where I'm at. But a young man was going to college. It was in his last year, getting his degree to be an engineering major. And that last year, instead of making A's, he flunked out. And the pastor said, Brother Sheppard, he called me crying the other day. And he said, Pastor, I'm going to tell you what's wrong. I've been on a roller coaster this last semester. My dad, who was a head deacon in one of our churches, in the past year has been picked up twice for DWI. The last time they picked him up, he had a prostitute in the car with him. And he has been the head deacon in our church for 20 plus years. What happened, Brother Sheppard? Somewhere he quit building an altar.
He did.
Somewhere he quit building an altar. I've come to tell you tonight, it takes sacrifice to have a relationship.
Say it.
It takes sacrifice to have a relationship. I'll go one step further. It costs to keep something alive. A few months ago, there were two men sitting at a graduation. And one man looked at the other and he said, it costs so much. It costs so much to get our kids through school and into college. And the other man looked at him. His daughter had been killed in an accident a few weeks earlier who should have been graduating that night. And he said, I'll trade places with you in a moment. He said it costs something to keep something alive. Something that's dead doesn't cost a thing. But it costs to keep something alive. It costs to keep something alive. Woo. My Lord, I hear a voice calling us from an old rugged cross here tonight. And I want to close tonight from 1 Kings chapter 2 and verse 28. But may I say that the man who did the counting when I begin these scriptures, his name was Joab. Joab was a man of war. You will find he didn't do everything right in his life. He knew what it was like to shed blood. But in 1 Kings chapter 2 and verse 28, read, Pastor.
Then tidings came to Joab.
Yes, sir.
For Joab had turned after Abinadab.
Yes, sir.
Though he turned not after Absalom.
Yes, sir.
And Joab fled unto the tabernacle of the Lord, and caught hold on the horns of the altar.
On the horns of the altar.
And it was told King Solomon that Joab was fled unto the tabernacle of the Lord, and behold,
Where is he? Where is he? Where is Joab? Where is he? I've heard he's went to the sanctuary. Where was he at? Brother Dwayne, the moral of this story is he knows he's going to die. The word has already came. You betrayed the king one time too many. Let me just end this, Pastor. I know it's touched you. But when we find Joab, we find he's went to the sanctuary and he's went in and got a hold of the altar. What's the moral of the story? Joab knows that if he's going to die, there's only one place that I can possibly go and get right with God. So if I'm going to die, let me die at the altar. Whoa, I feel the Lord reaching here this evening. I feel like this evening the Lord's calling and the Lord's speaking. The Lord's calling us back to the altar. And I've come with a word here for somebody. If you're not right with God, don't die anywhere else but at the altar. Don't die outside the four walls, but die at an altar. Can we stand together? And I've come with an invitation here this evening that somebody needs to hit these altars. Who will be the first one? Who will be the second one? Joab knew something about the importance of touching the altar when facing eternity. Because I want to know here tonight, do you walk with God or do you walk with somebody who walks with God? Our friend and brothers and sisters, there's a wide chasm between walking with God and walking with somebody who walks with God. Here I am. Here I stand.
Lord, my life is in your hands.
Joab, where are you going to die?
Lord,
I'm going to die at the altar.
Your desires revealed in me. Here I am.
Here I am.
Here I stand.
Here I stand.
Lord, my life
is in your hands.
Lord,